Hello, my loves. Welcome to episode 8 of Pain to Joy. I am Danielle Suddy, and it is exciting to have you here with me today. I'm curious, how's your heart today? Mine's doing okay. It has been another beautiful week. I usually record earlier in the week to give me time to edit, and yet there have been different things popping up that I wasn't anticipating, which is funny because I was just thinking about how last week I had talked about unanticipated gifts that arise from different experiences that we have. And a joy and unanticipated gift was that I have seen my older brother's family a couple of times this last week. Such a joy. And yesterday was my second youngest niece's grade 6 farewell. So I made my way up to her elementary school, which was so beautiful and emotional. I used to be a teacher, and to be there and hear the teachers really beautifully honor these grade 6s and how far they've come. And when one of the teachers said, "It is a privilege and a joy to have been your teacher," tears welled up for me, because I used to have the privilege and the joy and honor of being a teacher and an educator. And I remember those grad ceremonies when I was a high school teacher and how proud I was and how thankful and honored I was to get to spend those time with those students. And so I really felt those words that teacher shared deeply. And of course, so proud of my niece who it was just wonderful. I'm really thankful that I had those beautiful connected moments and had the magical surprise of seeing my eldest nephew and his girlfriend that I didn't know were going to be there and spending some extra quality time with them. So yesterday was a longer day than I anticipated, and it was just full of so many gifts. And my heart feels so full. So wherever your heart is at, I'm holding loads of loving space for you, and I'm going to place my hand on my heart and invite you to do the same if you feel called. And I'm going to take a deep belly breath in. Sometimes it doesn't work when I try, so I'm going to try again. Exhaling all that no longer serves and perhaps never did. And just thanking you for being here, for being present with me. And what I feel called to share today is about this post that I had revisited earlier this week. It was on Facebook. I had shared it 6 years ago. And the image that I had shared was a box of crackers, a can of ginger ale, Canada Dry, because that's my favorite, and then a small bottle of medication that I was taking at the time. And the post was about, what are you tolerating that you could make more joyful? What are you moving through that you could make more fun? Because at the time, what had happened was I was taking cannabis oil for a number of years prescribed by my doctor for pain. And I was looking to not take cannabis oil anymore so that I could travel and move more freely without this cannabis oil, because at the time it was legal in even less places to use cannabis oil or cannabis products. So I was trying a medication. My doctor said, well, you've tried this and you've tried that and you've tried that. This is sort of the last ditch effort. You can try this medication and we're going to cross our fingers and toes that it works for you. And that way you'll be able to come off of the cannabis oil and have more of a possibility to travel, which, like teaching, is one of the loves of my life. And a couple of weeks into taking this medication, I really wasn't feeling well. I was extremely nauseous. I could barely eat, and I was trying to make it as fun and as pleasurable as possible. So I was trying different crackers. I was trying to see what I could stomach, and I would phone the nurses every day at the chronic pain clinic in Calgary, and I would say, yeah, I'm really not feeling well. I don't know if I can do this, but I really want to, because this is the last opportunity. There's no other medicine that I can try, and I really want to make this happen. So I was doing something I call pushing through, and now in hindsight, maybe when I shouldn't, because everything in my body was telling me, this is not working, this is not okay. And I give lots of kudos and credit to all those nurses. They were incredible, they were compassionate, they were loving. And it turned out later that my doctor was out of town. And had she heard me say how horrible I was feeling, she would have said, stop, stop, it's enough. And a quality that I have that I mentioned in last week's episode that I didn't know at the time, or maybe I did know at the time and I forgot how important it was to pay attention to, was this idea of saying I'm fine when I'm not. Now, at this time, I was not saying I was fine, but I was still putting on a smile and a brave face and doing the best I could. But in hindsight, even if I close my eyes and think back to that time, I felt absolutely awful. I remember going to acupuncture one day, just trying to take the edge off of the nausea. I remember stopping at the river on the way back and really just trying to give all of the pain and the nausea and my worries to the river and try and get through this so that I could persevere and I would be able to wean myself off of the cannabis oil and be able to do something that I love, which was travel further than the boundaries of this country. And so I kept on trucking. It was 2 or 3 weeks, I believe, and I just felt more awful and more awful. And by Canada Day, I was at the pharmacy at the Safeway in my neighborhood, and they knew me well. And I think what happened was, I know, they had prescribed me medication for the nausea. So they'd prescribed me medication for the nausea so that I could continue to take this medication that clearly everything in my body was screaming, this is not working, this is not okay. But again, when you have in the back of your mind, this is the only thing that's going to allow me to do something that I love so deeply. I really wanted to travel again. I really wanted to have that possibility. I went to the pharmacy and I was picking up the medication. I was telling them, how I still really wasn't feeling well. And then, for some reason, I chose to lift up my shirt to show this one lovely lady pharmacist that I had had these blisters kind of along the bikini line on the right side underneath my right breast. And that had happened about 10 days prior. And I thought that it was a hot tub rash. And I had gone to one of the public pools on a Sunday. I'd worn a bikini, which I hadn't done, I think, in years because I had pain on the other side of my chest. Therefore, wearing a bikini wasn't something that I had done in a long time. And I remember I had gone to the hot tub, and the next day I went to the doctor and I said, I went to the hot tub, I have this kind of funny rash around where my bikini line is, but I didn't show her. So 2 weeks, 10 days had passed, and it was really, really painful. It's like these small blisters, and I lifted up my shirt to show the pharmacist, and she looked at me and she said, you need to go to urgent care right now. And she couldn't tell me why. She obviously knew what this was. I had no idea. All I knew is that I had been in a lot of pain. I was extremely nauseous, and I had attributed all of that to this medication. So then I phoned my mom, because growing up, unless there was something really, really wrong, we didn't go to the doctor. And so I said, hey, Mom, and it was Canada Day, so my whole family was out in Canmore having Canada Day celebrations. I remember getting to talk to my nephew, the one I got to see yesterday, and he passed the phone to my mom, and I said, I'm just really not feeling well. I'm in a lot of pain, and the pharmacist says I need to go to urgent care, and my mom said, go. If she said to go, then you go. I realized that I was an adult at the time. This is 6 years ago, so I'm 39 years old. And I said, fine, I guess I'll go. So I'm checking the wait times, and the least wait time was at the Sheldon Schumer, which is downtown in Calgary. So I made my way there, and I was waiting, and I believe the nurses came in first, and then I waited, and this really good-looking South African doctor came in. And he looked at me and he said, darling, it's shingles. And that still didn't really mean much to me because the only thing I knew about shingles is that David Letterman, comedian, had a late night talk show. I remember years and years ago, they kept saying, David Letterman has shingles and he can't return to work. And I felt like it went on for quite a few weeks. Like, was it 6 weeks? And it went on and on. And I'm a very literal person. So when I hear the word shingles, I think of shingles on a roof. Like that's what I think of. And I also thought for some reason that it was something that you would have all over your back, for example. And so these blisters that I experienced were very, very small. Like I think some of the tiniest things ever that could cause the most excruciating pain. And I was also upset at the time at the fact that at the doctor's office, they have these pamphlets for shingles. And the pamphlets always have people that are elderly, gray hair, white hair. So it never would have dawned on me in a million years that as somebody that was under 40, that I would possibly have shingles. Like it just didn't even think about it. And it is unfortunate that a few weeks before I hadn't shown my doctor, because had I shown her the day after when I thought I had this hot tub rash, which in fact was shingles, I wouldn't have potentially gone through all of this. However, I do believe that things happen for us to learn from and grow from, and it all ended up being perfect and excruciating. In any case, this lovely doctor was very kind and very caring, and we discussed a few things. I mentioned that I had a pain condition. I mentioned that I was in a lot of pain, and I was hoping that we could maybe lessen this pain. And I had only started going to the chronic pain clinic a couple of months prior. So I started going to the pain clinic in May. And I believe at that time, we had already gotten me some pain creams. And these creams that I still use to this day, one of them is like a lidocaine 5% cream in a compound that you can, easily rub onto your skin where you have pain. And there was also a cream that had gabapentin and lidocaine. And that's sort of where I was at. And I believe he prescribed some other pain cream and told me to put it directly where these blisters had been because they were still there. And I'm not sure at that point if they were open sores, but he said, okay, I want you to try this analgesic, this pain relieving cream. So that's great. So that's on July 1st. And I think, okay, at least I know what this is. And that's what I'm going to do. And he prescribed some antivirals. Now, the thing that I've learned is the sooner you think or know that you have shingles, you need to take antivirals. I had already been in a lot of pain for at least 2 or 3 weeks at this point. So it was a little bit late for me to have taken the antivirals, and I did take them, but I still have the lingering pain today, which is called post-herpetic neuralgia, which can happen. The nerve root or the nerve that got affected is still healing all of these years later, which feels like sometimes you have like bugs crawling under your skin. It can be very painful. It's still challenging for me to wear clothing that isn't super, super, super soft. I have been able to wear bikinis more in the last couple of years, depending on the day, depending on how tight, etc. And I'm very, very thankful. But yes, so this doctor was incredible. He sent me on my way, and I thought, okay, I've got this cream. I'm going to be okay. I've got these antivirals. I'm going to feel better. Everything's going to be amazing. And I don't remember if it was the following day or 2 days later. I was in so much pain. And this is coming from someone who has had nerve pain for years. This was 8 years post-car accident. And I think at that point, I kind of felt like I knew what nerve pain was, and I had it on the left side of my chest, the left side of my neck, my left arm, my left hand, sensitivity, pain, etc. But it was wild. And I called my doctor's office and I said, this doctor gave me this cream, but it's just, I'm in so much pain. And they said, oh, your doctor's out of town. We won't be able to help you, because I was asking to get some heavier pain medication. I believe it was tramadol. And although tramadol is, my understanding is a lesser form of something like Percocet or OxyContin, it's still considered a narcotic. So I called my doctor's office and they said, oh, I'm really sorry, your doctor's away. You won't be able to get that. So then I went to a walk-in clinic and I waited there for a while, and I was just in so much pain, like mind-blowing pain. I remember I went to a place on Elbow Drive in Calgary near Henry Wisewood High School, and I waited, and as I was sitting there, I saw the sign that said, if you're a walk-in patient, we cannot prescribe narcotics. And I thought, oh no, tramadol is considered a narcotic, but I'm in so much pain, I don't know what to do. So I mentioned it to the nurses there and the receptionist, And they said, yeah, we're really sorry, but because you're walking, we can't help you. And then I remember calling different walk-in clinics, seeing if anyone could help me. And I really felt like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, this is the kind of pain I'm getting tears in my eyes thinking about it, because it was so painful. And by the grace of God and by the kindness and care of the people at my doctor's office, I phoned back and I explained the situation, and they said, you know what, why don't you come back? Because this is your clinic. You've been seeing your doctor since you were 12 years old. You can see a different doctor. And the universe, God, whoever was on my side that day, because the doctor I ended up seeing had been a chronic pain doctor in Toronto. So he knew more about what could help in this situation and what could help someone with, which I call persistent pain. He was so kind and so sweet and so caring and so understanding. And I'm sure he could see how much pain I was in. And I'm still smiling through it as best I can. And something that I learned that day when I was at that walk-in clinic, when I phoned other walk-in clinics, I believe I went to a few places. I think I even went to my pharmacy to say, hey, this has been prescribed before. Could I get some more? But of course, it's a narcotic, so I couldn't. And I remember driving from that walk-in clinic to my doctor's office in Riverbend at the time. And I remember thinking, it is always possible to be kind, because I was losing my mind. The amount of pain I was in, it was next level. And I was still able to have the presence of heart and mind to be kind to those nurses and the receptionist at the walk-in clinic, because they don't make the rules. I was still able to be kind with the receptionist at my doctor's clinic, even though, I'd gone through a few hours of more intense pain trying to figure out how to get these drugs, this medication. And it was just this sort of moment that I'll never forget. I remember driving, I remember crying, I remember laughing, I remember what I was wearing, and I remember thinking, if I can be kind in this moment, when I'm experiencing this much pain, it is always, always possible. And so I'm so thankful to that doctor that day who ended up prescribing me whatever it was. It started to help, because he was really the hero of the day. And I thought, okay, I've got some better medication and I'm going to get better and I'm going to feel great and life is beautiful. And I ended up having a few other, I guess we call them complications with that medication, with a different medication. I had tried some medication for the nausea that I was still experiencing because the pain was so high. That medication caused blurred vision. It was a wild ride. And I don't share all of this to say, oh, poor Danielle, she went through all this pain and so difficult. No, I share this because I can't believe it was nearly 6 years ago, and it would have been 6 years ago at this time that I was trying this medication and pushing through and really resisting what my body was trying to tell me. And it's a good reminder for me to stop and say, what do my body and brain need? What is my body trying to tell me? At that time, pre-shingles diagnosis, my body was trying to say, hey, love, I know you really want to take this medication, and I know that you really want to travel, and I know that you want to find a way to do that and be as comfortable as possible and not be experiencing so much pain. But maybe this medicine isn't it. Maybe you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. And so the summer went on. A week or so after, I went to the second doctor who was so wonderful. I ended up going to get, it was summer, so I was going to get a bikini wax. And I thought, great idea. Not thinking about the fact that I have a persistent pain condition and pain, my body overreacts and is very sensitive, very sensitized to pain. So I went and I was so excited to be out of the house. And, I took some ibuprofen and I had a lovely time chatting away because it's a wonderful, beautiful family friend who was going to do this wax. And I was just so happy. It was a beautiful day in Mission in Calgary. I believe I went for a walk by the river. And then the pain just got out of control again. Most likely because I decided to have the wax, and the wax got my brain all riled up. And there was a point where it was probably 3 weeks into July where I was in so much pain. I had met up with a friend for dinner. He was here from Vancouver. I had met him years ago at the Jam Cafe in Vancouver. I met him and another lovely girl sitting at the bar. That's why it's always great when they say, do you want to sit at the bar? Yes. Who am I going to meet at the bar? Amazing. So this lovely friend of mine, and he's come to Calgary a few times, and we'll just go out and eat. And I've seen him in Calgary, and we go somewhere and eat delicious things. So I had some lunch with him, and I remember just not being able to concentrate, not being able to think. I remember my mental health was totally on the fritz. I remember having really, really dark thoughts, very scary thoughts. It was not something that I could handle on my own. So I remember walking out of that restaurant. I called my mom from my car and I said, I'm really not doing well, still in a lot of pain, and my brain is just, I need help. And so my beautiful mom came into Calgary and she stayed with me. And when I was at home that summer, it was challenging to wear clothing. It was very painful. So most of the time when I was at home, I didn't wear a top. And if visitors came, I wore like some sort of scarf draped over me to try and cover my chest and my breasts. And what ended up happening was amazing gifts from pain. And I say that because I thought that I had been through a lot of pain. I thought that I had allowed myself to receive the love of others and the generosity of others when I was in moments where I needed it. And I really hadn't. I still was very independently moving through pain, moving through this experience. I didn't love going to the chronic pain clinic groups because it was this club that I didn't want to be a part of, but I very much was a part of, still am a part of. And what happened that summer was I got visits from tons of family and friends. I had to ask for help because I was in the position of not having any other choice. And there's a part of that makes me sad that it took the shings, as I affectionately like to call them, to get me to this place where I had to ask for help. I couldn't go out and get groceries. I mean, I guess I could have tried, but wearing clothes was so painful. I mean, to me, it was incredible that my older brother, when I asked him to bring some groceries, he was asking me, okay, what kind of yogurt do you like? What kind of this do you like? Something I would have never fathomed that would have ever happened because I would never have wanted to ask for help. I would never have wanted to burden someone with, oh, well, now you have to look for this specific kind of yogurt. And it's so funny now because that word burden has come up in the last few weeks in different conversations. I don't ever think of anyone or anything as a burden. People have needs, people have wants, people have desires. And none of those are burdens. That word hasn't even been in my vocabulary probably in these last 6 years because I was in a space where had I not asked for help, I wouldn't have eaten. I remember a good friend, my mom's age, she dropped off this Vietnamese soup one day. Like I could cry right now for all of the love and the care and the generosity of people making sure I had food, making sure I had just different gifts, different things to keep me going. And so as much as I don't wish that I had the shings and that I still had post-herpetic neuralgia 6 years later, it's made me who I am. It's allowed me to learn to let love in, to let people be there for me in the way that I would be there for you or you or you or anyone I love or care about, or even somebody I don't know at the drop of a hat. Why is it that some of us would give anything and everything to the people around us, to the people that we love, or somebody that is in need, but we can't allow ourselves to receive? And so the shings taught me in a huge way to allow myself to receive. And I remember that following fall, I was on a call, and at the time I was still involved with Landmark, and I can't remember what those calls were called, but I was speaking with someone, and I guess I was the one that they were reaching out to, and I remember saying, allowing people to be there for you is a gift that you give them and yourself. I'm going to say that again. Allowing people to be there for you is a gift that you give them and yourself. People want to be there for you. People want to help. People want to feel useful. People want to feel needed. So me asking for help was making other people feel good, rather than that idea of, oh, it's such a burden. No, not a burden. And sometimes there are people that won't be able to help you because their capacity is low or they have other things going on. That's okay. That has nothing to do with you. I learned a lot that summer, and the tears are about to flow because it has been a ride. I still now, if I don't get enough sleep or if the stress levels are higher, and they have been the last few weeks, the intensity of feeling like these bugs are crawling under my skin, the nerve pain, not being able, I go to the store and it's okay. I still should create a clothing line that's soft and light and lovely. I look at clothes that I would want to buy and it's like, nope, you can't. And that's okay too, because there are always other clothes and you can be imaginative and creative and enjoy whatever it is that you can wear. And I guess it makes me think of this Wayne Dyer quote, which I love, and I would quote it all day long. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Because I don't look back at that experience as this horrible, terrible thing that happened. I look back and I see people who loved me, who were there for me. I see my mom driving in at the drop of a hat. I see the people, my friends that are closest with me, showing up for me, and me learning to not feel guilty, me learning that it's okay to ask for help, me learning, not fully at that point, but it was my journey of starting to take up space. It's okay to have needs. It's okay to have desires. It's okay to want to be able to eat food and have people bring it to you. And it might sound really simple and really basic. Well, yeah, she was in a lot of pain. She couldn't leave the house. She couldn't really wear clothing. So of course she needed to ask for help. But it was a journey. And looking back on it now, I'm thankful for every moment of it. And if we go back to that photo that I put up on Facebook with the crackers and the ginger ale, and this idea of how could you make experiences that are not very pleasant more tolerable? How could you make experiences more pleasant, more pleasurable? And what I had mentioned when I added to that post this week, I was thinking about when I was staying in London, England in the past fall and winter. And the sun did come out more than I thought I would see it. However, there was a lot of gray. It was very rainy. It was very damp. I was incredibly lucky to live where I lived. A beautiful friend of mine who I met in my travels asked me if I wanted to stay in her place. We actually were never there at the same time, and it was a huge gift and incredibly generous. I lived really close to the river, but it was so damp. And the damp and the cold, I was in so much pain. I had so many migraines. And so part of that experience was reinforcing that I prefer sunshine. I prefer warm weather. My body and my persistent pain condition does far better when it's sunny and warm and dry. Yet I made the best of it. I'm in this beautiful city with all of these monuments and all of this history and the food. Oh my goodness gracious. I spoke more Italian when I was in London than I think I did in Italy. It was incredible to meet so many people from so many places in the world. And so would I have preferred sunshiny weather? Yes. But what could I do to make the experience more enjoyable? I could get out, I could meet people, I could try new things, I could try new foods. We're always going to have challenges in our lives. We're always going to have things that we tolerate, that we don't really enjoy, things that we have to do in order to do what we want to do. And that's not always fun. Being an adult, it's not always fun. But how can we make it more enjoyable? How can we turn it into something playful? How can we turn it into something joyful? And so I know for me, the days where I was feeling well enough when I was in England to get out of the house, I talked to a lot of strangers. I met a lot of people. I ate the delicious things. I really enjoyed those moments as much as I possibly could, because not seeing the sun and that kind of weather was painful. I tolerated it. I don't know if I would do it again. But the invitation this week is to really think about moments in our lives or chapters of our lives where we went through something that was painful, that we were tolerating, that we didn't enjoy. But what did we do to make it more enjoyable? What did we do to make it more pleasant? And if you look back on those times and it was just all unpleasant, it was not fun, how can we move forward in the different moments of our lives, the different challenges that we experience, to make life more enjoyable? That might look like having that one friend who makes you laugh, sending them funny things, they send you funny things back to keep you smiling throughout the day. It might look like saying, okay, these are the things that I have to do today that I don't really want to do, but I'm going to insert something fun today, something just for me. And it might be listening to a comedian for 10 minutes. It might be calling a friend and connecting for 5 minutes and being like, this is my 5 minutes for me. It might be dancing in the rain. Could be making popcorn and really enjoying it. But life is going to happen. Challenges are going to happen. Pain is going to happen. Where can you insert and create joy? Where can you create moments of play, moments of fun? Because I think that is something that we need to all be more intentional about so that we can experience joy or happiness, laughter, no matter what chapter of life we're moving through. That's what I would want for you. That's what I would want for me, for all of us, is to experience more snippets of joy, to experience more pleasure, no matter what we're moving through. Please feel free to reach out. I am Danielle Suddy on Facebook, danielle.suddy on Instagram, or dksuddy@yahoo.ca if you would like to share snippets of your joy or whatever chapter you might be moving through. I want to thank each and every one of you for listening. I want to thank you for following or subscribing, whatever that looks like. I know this podcast is now on Apple, on Spotify, on Amazon Music. Via Amazon Music, it's actually on my Audible. So for example, where I listen to books, my podcast is actually there as well. And there I can rate and write a review. So please feel free to follow. I'm learning that allows more people to find the podcast and allows me to connect with more people. And I am so appreciative that you took the time to be here today. I am wishing you joy in your day, expansiveness in your heart, and whatever you might be moving through, know that you are loved, you are supported, and I just hope that you have a beautiful, beautiful day, a wonderful summer, or happy winter, depending on where you are. Much love from my big heart to yours.